Hi, I'm Skylar.
And I'm Max.
During quarantine, we decided to start watching Bob's Burgers to see what it was all about.
It didn't take long for us to become completely obsessed with the show.
And one of the things we loved the most about the show were the brilliant end credits.
Which is why we created this podcast.
Each week, we'll go episode by episode to talk about the elaborate end credit sequences.
We're excited to have you join us on the very first credit score spin-off, Bob's Credits.
We'll make sure the Bob's Burgers end credits get the credit they're due.
Chip Chipperoo.
Hello.
Chip Chipperoo, our official sign-on, despite the face that Skylar is making at me right now.
I was just trying to contain it.
Has it grown on you yet, or you're still...
Well, I forget what it
cringe?
is in between each recording session. And
So you're saying I need to say it more in our daily life?
maybe, because what happens instead is I have Andy's, when I'm trying to figure out what it is, Andy's voice from The Office, when he does a always comes in.
So you're saying I'm as annoying as Andy from The Office.
I think there's a parallel.
One of the most annoying sitcom characters of all time.
I'd agree.
I enjoy Ed Helms, but that character drives me crazy, and I do not like him on The Office.
You know what is another parallel? You both are like banjo nerds. Do you find his banjo playing annoying on The Office?
No, I like his banjo playing, actually. He's really good at it.
He is.
And Ed Helms is a really good banjo player.
Do you have any, and this is bad because, like I said, I can't remember plot of episodes very well. I remember the feelings, big emotional arcs. Do you have any moments where you liked Andy on the show?
There were a couple moments. I think he was a lot better as just kind of like a minor character.
Yeah.
And then when they try to he took over the show pretty much, it just did not work for me. He's very annoying.
It's a sinking ship.
There's nothing redeeming about him to me.
No.
He's not as lovable as Michael. So when, by the way, this show is not about The Office.
No.
The show we're recording right now is not about The Office. If you're listening to this show and you don't know about my other podcast, Credit Score, we do an entire episode about The Office and The Office's opening credits in particular. If you want to go check that out,
iconic.
We had a fantastic guest, Jess McKenna, who came and did the episode with us, and it's a lot of fun if you want to get... I think we discussed Andy and our dislike for him at some point.
What was the instrument?
The melodica.
The melodica,
Yeah,
which
she
is
played
in
it live.
the opening of the credits, that iconic.
Yeah.
Doo-doo.
I mean, not to we can still discuss Andy right now. I just wanted to shout that out because it's a great episode.
You
it's a lot
still
of
haven't
fun.
said what this podcast is about.
You're right. I got so hooked on the Chip Chipperoo that I haven't even introduced the podcast. Do you want to introduce the podcast?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, guys. We are here to discuss not just Bob's Burgers, but particularly the end credits of Bob's Burgers. We're obsessed with the show.
Which is why the show is called...
my God.
Our show.
Oh, my God.
The show we're hosting right now.
Wait, this is apropos because this happens to Gene in the episode where he's like, but I call you Dad.
Right. So this is...
this is Max.
You're listening to Our Podcast is the name of the show.
Yeah. Bob's Credits.
Bob's Credits is the name of the show.
That is this podcast.
Spin-off of Credit Score, the show I just mentioned. We are going through every end credit sequence to Bob's Burgers.
Because they're fantastic and deserve more credit.
Yeah, and for the first season, we've kind of been bunching them together because they get more experimental with the credits as the show goes on.
Yeah, and elaborate.
So we've been bunching them because there's not many changes. So in this particular episode, we're actually, for the first time, bunching 3 episodes into one of our episodes here to finish up the first season.
Right, so we'll finish up the first season in this, and this will be our first season finale that we're covering.
So over there is the lovely Skylar.
I am Skylar, but more importantly than your name, I thought of an Andy moment that I thought was really endearing.
Okay.
When he finds out that Angela's cheating, and they have that duel.
Him and Dwight.
Yeah, and he wins the duel with his Prius. I just found it that in that moment, I just was one of the only moments where I was very pro Andy.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's what something Jess said in that Credit Score episode. I think she said it was that there's so much punching down on Andy too that he doesn't get any victories, and it's almost exhausting to watch the character. He's so
right. He also doesn't have any I'm sorry, I say this phrase every single podcast. He doesn't have a lot of like emotional arc.
Right. And that's why
tired.
Michael, even though he was obnoxious and he had these redeeming qualities about him, and I just think Danny,
Right.
I don't think Andy was as rounded out as a character, or was meant to be even.
Right.
And that's the problem with when, you introduce a character to a show and then it kind of...
I think it's hard when you have a TV show that is so beloved and you add new characters. Like even Karen, who's like one of my favorite actresses of all time. I can't remember where I read this, but I still think she gets hate for like breaking up Jim and Pam. She didn't break them up, but you know what I mean? It's like, poor Karen. She was great.
She was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And Andy, there were other factors at play with Andy in real life. Ed Helms became a huge star because of the Hangover movies. So they're like, well, we got to keep this guy, as the lead on our show now. And
so this is the thing. You guys should go listen to their credit score office episode, because we'll pivot here soon. But I loved that whole conversation you had, because if you're making decisions, kind of like networky decisions and like who's the star, or like I'm going to cast this person because they have 2 million followers, I think they lost the brilliance of the show. And it's not casting the person who's making A-list movies, it's casting the character that we're all hooked on. Mm-hmm. So I think that was a total like, well, how are we going to get our numbers up now that, the showrunner has left or whatever. So, but speaking of, first of all, that's Max.
Yeah.
He's here.
I'm here. I'm Max. I'm not going anywhere.
Nope. We're in this apartment for the rest of our freaking lives.
Biscuit, our dog, is here, passed out on the floor. His eyes are shut more tight than they've ever been right now.
That's so cute. I can see him through the mirror. He's sleeping like a baby.
He is.
But speaking of introducing characters, we meet some new characters in these next 3 episodes, and Bob's Burgers, maybe unlike The Office, I'm not sure I'd say that, does a really good job of introducing characters and building them out, sometimes even giving them their own story arc.
And they grow. Like they become better characters as the show goes on, because a lot of these characters are not the characters that they end up being at some point. That
super
you kind of
generic, like Zeke, Jocelyn,
right? Don't say Jocelyn's name if she's not in these episodes.
I know, we have to do my segment later. Jocelyn
will be making many, many, many more appearances, but not quite yet, unfortunately.
Yeah. Let's just do my segment now, because since we brought it up. Okay. Did Jocelyn make Max giggle in these episodes?
Jocelyn is nowhere to be found in any of these, I believe. Maybe she's in the background in school shots. I don't know. I didn't look enough, but
school in any of these.
One of them they were. There was one part.
Okay.
And I'll point out. So we're doing episodes 11, 12, and 13 of the first season.
Yep.
Which is, we'll get into the titles and synopsis, but first we've got to play our favorite game, our favorite segment of this podcast.
Yes.
It's called Bob Pun or Max Pun. Yep. Bob makes puns for the burgers of the day on every episode. Max makes puns for every episode of our
every episode
podcast.
Of my life.
Yeah, every episode of your life. Every single episode, every day of your life.
But quarantine just makes my life feel like one never-ending mediocre episode.
I like that.
Yeah.
Especially mediocrity.
Yeah.
Sums it up perfectly.
Like just that episode of a show that you're invested in, but like it's not a gem.
It's not great.
Going.
It has its highlights, it has its lowlights.
Yeah.
It's more Andy than Michael Scott, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. I'm getting depressed. Let's move on.
All right. Let's go with Bob Pun or Max Pun, Skylar. Oh, I just realized I'm looking through these. They're all song titles, and I didn't do that on purpose.
Ooh, cool.
Okay. Your first pun is, and I've had the time of my life burger. And
That's so good.
Had
Max.
the time of... Nope.
Okay.
This is a Bob pun. I remember it because I think I looked to you and I said, that is one of my favorite of all time.
It's really good.
And I can't not sing it. And I've had the time of my life. Okay. Are you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
You spinach me right round spinach burger.
Max.
No.
Oh
Bob.
my God.
So let me tell you why Skylar guessed Max on that one. We were cooking a spinach burger earlier this week, and I said, I'm going to come up with a spinach pun. I thought of one. It was this one. I was like, I wonder if that was actually...
I'm kind of right.
Yeah. This is the one but I was going to say it to you, and then I said, no, I'll say it for the podcast, and then I looked it up, and Bob actually had it.
Oh, was that one?
Yeah.
You guys, he did come up with this, like, before he did this research when we were cooking.
So I'm wondering if some of these might end up being Bob ones down the road that I come up with. They might overlap.
I feel like I get half a point.
These purposes, I'll give you that. Okay. Your next pun is glory, glory, jalapeno burger. Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. And your last one is...
You don't have to sing them.
Oh, I love singing them.
You can just...
It makes them more fun.
Okay.
Your last one is let's get it prawn.
Okay. So
let's get it prawn.
Okay. I feel like if I'm going to talk, you're going to start singing. So.
Let's get it prawn.
That sounds so Bob to me, and if they haven't used it in the episode, they're missing out. So I'm gonna go Bob.
It is Max.
Is there any writing staff listening? Because that could be a whole episode.
I think they're all listening. They're all just
a Valentine's Day episode
every week.
That'd be great.
Every week, the entire writing staff of Bob's is listening to our podcast. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
they're waiting to hear if their names are going to be mentioned in the credits. The writing staff sits there and they're like, how badly will they mispronounce our names this week? Because we are struggling with some of the names, unfortunately. Yeah. All right, should we get into the episodes? Do you have anything more to add? Do we want to talk about The Office a little bit more? Do we want to talk about Arrested Development? Do we want to talk about other shows?
No, I just want to say that I'm very embarrassed and I need to step up my game.
With this pun game.
Yeah, that hurt a little.
Well, I mean, in your defense, I've really stepped up the mixing and matching.
Yes,
and
you have.
I do things during the week to throw you off going into it, like the spinach, the whole spinach situation.
That wasn't planned, though.
I like Inceptioned you a little bit, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that burger was not very good. I'm kind of feeling nauseous right now.
Just talking about it?
Yeah.
Okay. Should we move into the episodes?
Yep.
What is episode 11, which we're starting with?
Episode 11 is Weekend at Mort's.
Uh-huh.
Great title.
Weekend at Bernie's. Play on Weekend at Bernie's.
Yep. All right. So, Green Mold forces the Belchers to stay over at Mort's mortuary for the weekend. Mort's cool to watch the kids, so Linda decides this weekend should be that honeymoon they never had. Meanwhile, when Louise pushes Mort into a blind date with a fellow mortician, Tina takes over as babysitter. Louise, of course, tries to scare the shit out of Jean and Tina down in the morgue. Mort's blind date turns into a double date with Bob and Linda at Jimmy Pesto's, where it is, of course, Jamaican night. Why wouldn't it be? At an Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
Rastafarian?
Pastafarian is what he's doing, that. Pastafarian.
I missed
it's
that
so
pun.
Bad. It's so bad. And it's something that you would see at a restaurant and cringe.
I know.
Yeah. He's wearing like awful Rastafarian dreadlocks and it's... Oh.
I mean, talk about cultural appropriation.
Oh, it's the ultimate cultural appropriation.
But that's Jimmy.
Yeah.
You know?
But he even culturally appropriates Italian for his
totally.
for Jimmy Pesto. So
his restaurant reminds me like when we're traveling and you're so hungry but you don't know the city and you really want to find like a local spot and all you can find are like the Jimmy Pesto restaurant. So then you eat like frozen spinach dip and call it a night.
Yeah, it's bad Italian food with horrible Italian decorations.
Oh, I love some cheesy Italian decorations.
Sure. A little candle.
But I hate
a little
bad Italian food.
Candle served in a bottle that's in like a wicker.
Yeah.
Wicker holder. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Everybody knows.
Are you picturing it? Everyone is picturing it.
Yeah.
This episode was written by Scott Jacobson and directed by Anthony Chun. And a funny thing about Scott Jacobson is that in this episode, his name is spelled wrong in the credits.
But is it the opening or the end credits? We have to take a look.
I'm not sure, but I think
we did all the same
research. It might be
research.
both, but it's EN, I guess, instead of ON at the end.
Yeah, that's a mistake I would make.
Yeah. Scott Jacobson's also a 4-time Emmy winner. For he wrote for The Daily Show and for Bob's Burgers. He's won for both.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love this episode.
I love this episode too. This is one of my favorites from the first season.
I found a quote that kind of encompasses how I feel about this episode. The AV Club reviewer, Rowan Kaiser, gave this a B+. I would go higher, I think. But this is what he said about this episode. It's not deep. It's not quite as delirious as Art Crawl, but gags like Jemmy Pesto's Jamaican Night are consistent winners. I think episodes like this are Bob's Burgers baseline moving forward. Weird, funny, and occasionally springboards to episodes of sheer genius.
That's good.
So I just wanted to back up a little bit. I feel like I was a little bit too hard or judgmental on the fact that they wanted this show to be about cannibals. I'm so glad Max told us in our pilot episode that this show was originally pitched as a family of cannibals, and I was like, hated the idea. I'm so glad they didn't go with that, but I wasn't giving credit. Like, part of the reason the show works is that there is like outlandish and weird shit.
Of course.
So
totally.
I thought this reviewer put it perfectly.
Yeah, and I wonder how much, obviously they work next to this mortician. I wonder how much that was going to come into play if they were cannibals, you know. Yes. Yeah.
And speaking of Mort, I feel really stupid for not noticing this now, but Mort is death in French.
Oh. Okay.
Did you know that?
So is that where morticians? Okay, that's where the title comes from.
Oh, yeah.
Mort. This is a language podcast.
And orgasm is le petit mort, which is the small death.
Oh, an orgasm is dying?
Yeah, it's like a small death.
Oh.
It makes sense to me.
Are you trying to tell me something?
I only know this because there's one of my favorite ballets. It's called Le Petit Mort.
Okay. There's a ballet about a small orgasm?
I mean, it is phenomenal.
Okay. Biscuit earmuffs. You don't hear your parents talking about this stuff.
Okay.
What else? Okay, so do we want to get into these end credits now? Or do we have more information?
I feel like we might have some more trivia.
Okay.
How are you feeling?
Hit me with some trivia.
First I just want to say this is Tina's first babysitting gig, and I love babysitting Tina.
I do too.
I love her.
I do too. She thinks she's in control. Louise is always really kind of like puppet mastering her. It's great.
But she really wants to sparkle. She wants to be that like gregarious, like the babysitter you want to be or want to be with. And she's like neither of those things.
She's also terrified about spending weekends in a death house.
Yeah.
And there's lots of Tina Us, which are important to this podcast, which we'll say a little bit later. And Louise is thrilled about staying in this.
I think I would be too.
To stay in a... Really?
Yeah. But
we watch enough scary movies that I don't want to do that.
I just this is please cut this. But I just feel like the more we talk about death and get comfortable with death and stop mystifying it, every one of us is going to do, going to happen to us. That's a whole nother conversation. It should be, do it.
Sorry.
The trivia.
Well, no, I was going to say, if this is side note, if you want a really good horror movie that's set in a mortician, in a morgue, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, go into that without knowing anything about it. It stars Emile Hirsch and Brian Cox from Succession.
A really good movie.
It's a great movie, especially Halloween time. Watch that movie. It's creepy.
Speaking, now that I'm talking all about death, a cut scene from this episode was Mort has a podcast, and it is called "Hey, It's Your Loss." So I feel like that would have been appropriate content. And
it's not the small orgasm.
No, it's not Le Petit Mot.
Le Petit Mot.
Okay, so I can't believe you didn't find this trivia because it made me think of you and made me really happy.
If this is a small orgasm thing, I'm going to be so pissed off.
It's not a small orgasm. It's a little death.
Oh.
A little metaphor.
Death is an orgasm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I died a little bit inside.
Exactly. It makes sense.
It's okay. I like the small orgasm.
just a bit.
The teeniest, tiniest of orgasms. I hope you're listening to this with your kids, everyone.
Mm-hmm. So they go to Mort's. They're super surprised that his apartment is very chic. They thought it would be creepy. And Gene starts messing with the radio.
Yeah.
And do you know, this is related to credits, do you know what is played on the radio?
I just read this too, so I do know, but why don't you tell us?
Okay. It's from I think I'm going to say this, my favorite credit sequence.
I'm not cutting that, by the way. That was great.
My favorite credit sequence so far is, can you say the episodes? It's like
Sheesh Cab Bob. Yeah.
And the end credits are from a song that was in the episode called Lifting Up the Skirt of the Night.
Yeah. Lifting up the skirt of the night.
Slow down. I don't know the words.
I think I'm going to get like a recording contract after this episode.
Okay.
Shook her head.
You guys, if you don't play into it, they just move on. Like
pulling down the pants of the night. Look at those tight pants.
I thought you would be charmed by that fact.
Oh, I love it. It's great.
All right.
I love that Lifting Up the Skirt of the Night is played on radios in the Bob's Burgers universe.
I love it.
It's a great song.
Fantastic song. All right.
Okay, should we get in these credits?
Yep.
Okay, so as always, going to play the kind of like the last few moments before the credits starts. Bob and Linda are dancing in Jimmy Pesto's restaurant. Bob is pantsless, but he's got his underwear, and he's about to spot some mold in Jimmy Pesto's restaurant, which is going to make him very happy, and then it'll go into the end credits.
That's green mold right there on Jimmy's wall. What? See it, Lynn? Right
You
there.
can hear that awful reggae music playing.
Oh, crap.
We win! We win!
Just put some bleach on it.
What?
Cut to the credits.
So we've got the generic sequence.
No
just
new
the family.
actions.
No new action. Just the back of Bob, Louise, and Tina cooking in the kitchen, prepping. But we've got this new Weekend at Mort's, which they chant and dance as they're making their way from their restaurant to Mort's for the weekend. They're all kind of like singing and chanting Weekend at Mort's.
They're like lined up doing this like dance.
Yeah.
Singing.
And now in these credits, it seems to be played over an awful like reggae, cheesy reggae beat that you probably would have heard them playing at Jimmy Pesto's Pastafarian nights. I love Louise's little
I have a little fact about that.
Yeah.
So when they're like on their way to Mort's, and they're like, Weekend at Mort's. So the everybody is mouthing and singing it, but for some reason Louise is the only one whose voice is heard.
Oh, I wonder if they just recorded Kristen Shaw and they forgot to do everyone else.
Right. And so in dubbed versions of this show, the whole family sings the
Oh, do they say it differently in French?
Oh.
Small death. They're all having small deaths.
Okay, I'm uncomfortable.
Okay. While we've got the credits frozen here, the voice of Samantha, who is the mortician that Mort meets. By the way, Mort is voiced by Andy Kindler. I don't think we've said that because Mort's a regular. And I think Andy Kindler does a few other voices on the show, which we'll mention at some point. The voice of Samantha is Amy Sedaris, who
Perfect.
is amazing. She's hilarious. Strangers with Candy. I think she's going to do more voices in the show too. If not, she's done voices on a million other things. She's great.
Love her.
Louise has brought the plate over to Bob and delivered it to Linda in the window. And now Gene is making his way in his burger suit across the screen. Weekend at Mort's. Yeah, we're dancing around. And that's that. Those are the end credits to episode 11, Weekend at Mort's. Skylar, highlights, lowlights, things you love, things you didn't love.
First of all, I love a written song. This isn't like a full-fledged song like maybe the banjo or Lifting Up the Skirt of the Night.
Lifting up the skirt of the... She's not having it.
So I love that it's like original song, but technically it was taken from the episode. It wasn't, written just to play in the episode.
Yeah. But mixed with a reggae track, it's a little different.
It makes it something new. So I love that it has the two components, but my highlight, I think, is going to be Louise's
I'm with you on that. I think it's great. Although I do like the mix of the song they were singing with the reggae music that's been all throughout. So I think that's my highlight. Just like that combination.
Yeah.
My low light, as always, is just no visual addition.
Changes.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe in the window, a little Jimmy Pesto in his Rasta wig would have been.
Or like lots of dead bodies in this episode.
Yeah, maybe there's a place where.
Like a Tina zombie. She talks a lot about. I didn't, because this is now our second watch through, and Tina, you remember the like zombie fantasy dream, but she talks about them a lot more than I realized.
Yeah.
So maybe like a zombie in Jimmy's Rastafarian wig.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
You know what? Bob should be pantsless in these, just in his underwear.
That's it. That's all it needs.
Yeah.
See, just like a small, or in his lazy pants, because I adore
with
lazy pants.
the knee
These
hole.
are so gross. Linda hates them. Should we talk about your lazy pants while we're here?
Yeah, this is a great time to talk about him.
So when Max and I first started dating, he had these pants that his best friend also had a matching pair.
Shout out to my best friend Yo. Yeah, his name is Yo. You heard that right.
He had to tie them. They looked like ski pants, and we live in California, first of all. And they
Most
were
comfortable
like
pants I've ever had.
2 decades old, and the waist didn't hold them up anymore.
It was broken. Yeah, it was.
So he has tied it so tightly that he can't adjust it anymore, because this knot is just like forever glued there. And, upon, approaching the subject of maybe getting some new pants, it was always a no.
No.
So how did you end up throwing those away? Because I know it was like this big emotional tie to
I think
Yo.
they just broke eventually.
Oh,
yeah, I would never have thrown those away if they didn't just break and I could no longer like wear them.
And they were like big and bell bottomed
Oh,
and
they're so
baggy.
comfortable. Oh, love those lounge pants.
All right.
Those lounge pants were those were my Bob pants. Okay. We score on a scale of 1 to 10 H's at the end of Tina's Us.
I'm going to go with a 7.5.
7.5. Okay, I am going to go with a 6.5
Okay.
H's. So 7 H's at the end of Tina's for Weekend at Mort's.
Love it.
Let's move into the next episode.
Alrighty.
Skylar, can we have a title for episode 12 and a synopsis, please?
Yes. All right. Episode 12 is Lobsterfest.
Love it.
I should just note, because this will play into a few little trivia pieces. Lobsterfest was supposed to be the season 1 finale, but it ended up being the penultimate episode. All right, so Lobsterfest. Lobsterfest has taken over the Belchers town, much to Bob's chagrin. First, it will hurt the restaurant's weekend revenue. And second, Bob's allergic to lobster, but things turn toward blue skies for Bob when gray skies roll in. An approaching hurricane cancels Lobsterfest. Bob hosts all the Lobsterfest guests at the restaurant while the kids boil up a plan to try lobster for the first time, which Bob has forbidden. That's Lobsterfest.
I love Lobsterfest. This episode was written by Aaron Abrams and Greg Thompson. It's directed by Bhuvan Lim. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. If not, I apologize. I'm allergic to lobster. There's a fact for you. I'm like Gene in this episode.
I would say you're more like Bob.
I don't have like a skin outbreak or like my face doesn't swell. I have stomach pains from lobster. Like intense stomach pains.
Yeah. So another date story. Kind of our first weekend away together, we decided we were in like a beach town. We decided we were going to make lobster. Like, did you know it's literally like Linda and Bob's first date. Did you know you were allergic to lobster and were hiding it from me?
No,
or?
I knew that I had had lobster in the past but I never put 2 and 2 together. This is when I finally went like, oh, this is a reaction to the lobster I'm having. And it's terrible. It's worth it every now and then because lobster's so good.
You say that, but you haven't.
It is like an all night, just like stomach cramp pain thing. It's awful.
We had this romantic dinner.
Yeah.
It was like.
Nothing
insane.
cures it. You're just rolling around in bed and just pains.
That's intimacy. The first time you're like, my stomach hurts and I may need the bathroom later.
Yeah, but it's not
like that.
Right.
It's pain.
Yeah.
Right.
I almost wish it was that because there's relief there.
Maybe like a beginning, middle, and end.
This is great. If people haven't stopped listening because of the grief, they're going to stop listening because of
the diarrhea?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you have any trivia for us?
I do. This is the first appearance of Gretchen.
Yeah.
Linda's best friend.
And boy, does she have an appearance.
She does have an appearance. She gets hooked up with Hugo, the health inspector. She's voiced by Larry Murphy, who does Teddy.
Really?
Yeah, which I did not know until I looked this up. She'll be in plenty of episodes moving forward. Also, first speaking appearance is Mrs. LeBons,
which I thought was Lavon's.
I did too.
Yeah, okay.
It's LeBons, I guess. I guess they just say it. You've seen her in a few episodes, but this is the first episode where she speaks, but it's a completely different voice than the Mrs. LeBons we're used to later on. Like later on, she's like, "Hi, I'm Mrs. LeBons."
That's pretty good.
Yeah, she has like a normal voice almost. It's not.
I know, it's very jarring.
It's not raspy at all.
This is what's fun about going back and rewatching stuff.
Yeah, and Skylar and I have teased. By the way, we have a Patreon. We're Bob's Credits on Patreon if you want to sign up for a tier there. But down the road, if we have enough patrons interested, we're going to have higher tiers. And one of our ideas is to have bonus episodes where we kind of like follow the evolution of these characters from their first appearance, to like their most recent appearance, and talk about their evolution. I'd love to do a Mrs. LeBons one.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, please sign up for our Patreon.
Our only tier is $3 a month.
Yeah, just so we know that there's enough interest for us to start recording those episodes, and then we'll add another tier, so on. Anyway, I'm sorry to go off on a Patreon. Actually, I'm not sorry to. Support us. It helps us.
Yeah.
And we love doing these for you.
We do.
Yeah. That's all I have as far as notes goes.
We actually do have 2 other character intros.
Oh, okay.
So Torpedo Jones, who we will see in the next episode.
Yeah.
And Bert Delalucci?
The weatherman.
Not the weather. He might be the weatherman, but he's the baseball commentator.
Oh, okay.
They're introduced in this episode because if you remember, I said these last 2 episodes were supposed to be aired in a different order. So they had thought, these 2 characters have already been prominently introduced. Let's pop them in Lobsterfest. So you can see them, I believe, in the crowd.
Oh, that's a fun fact.
Yeah, you can definitely see them. I just don't know the exact scene.
Okay.
All right. Should we jump? All right.
Yeah. Should we jump into the credits?
Yeah.
Okay. So the end of the episode, we'll play the last few moments like we did last one. And so Hugo is yelling at Bob.
The whole restaurant's been wrecked.
Yeah. And again, like you said, this was supposed to be the finale. So I read that this was kind of like a cliffhanger episode based on if the show was going to get picked up or not. It kind of was just like it would work either way if it was like a show ender for some reason.
It breaks my heart when shows have to, like Parenthood's one of my all-time favorite shows. In one season, they didn't know if they were going to get picked up again. And they had like really intense storylines. So they have to write it so if they get canceled, it's emotionally satisfying, but you still want to like tease some.
Yeah.
So anyway.
One of our favorite shows did that actually. By the way, everyone listening to this, go watch Patriot on Amazon Prime.
Oh my God.
It is one of the best shows on TV. I don't think it's getting a 3rd season because it didn't get enough.
Max is like still holding out hope.
I'm still hoping enough people will start watching it and it'll get like a cult following to where it
just literally went through the cracks because it was literally the best TV show on that year.
Yeah, I can't even.
Sorry, Amazon Prime?
Amazon Prime, yeah. Patriot. But that show, season 2 ended, and it kind of ended like it could just be the show finale, but I
feel like there's so many like Patriot shows. What's one of the actors so they can make sure they're watching the right show?
I think Michael Dorman is the lead.
Okay, cool.
And what's his name who played John Locke from Lost? Terry O'Quinn is on it too. So I guess search for those names just to make sure you're watching Patriot. It's just Patriot. It's not like American Patriot.
The Patriot.
It's not. I don't think the title or the image
go with the show.
express how great the show is and what the show is about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So please watch it. There will be a test for those of you listening next episode. Let's get to these credits.
Okay.
So, here we are. Surprise inspection.
Oh.
Pencil.
Pencil.
Pad.
Pad.
Ooh, bent spindle. Ron, shut it down.
Let's hear it for John Van Horn on the music explosion.
Okay. So, first of all, Hugo, not my favorite character. I find him pretty annoying.
Not my favorite character.
So he's giving the little health inspection. He's mad at Bob, and it goes into the end credits after he says shut it down. And let's hear it for John Van Horten and the music extrusion, who we hear about in the beginning of this episode. Gene was conceived to them, apparently.
Oh, I forgot that.
And he says something like he hopes to return the favor someday.
That's
whatever
right.
that
It like
means.
does not make
Yeah. And then they play at Lobsterfest. So I guess is like
And they're so when Bob takes in all the Lobster Fest people, they're there. And Bob's like, look at all that wet gray hair or something like that.
yeah.
Is that the same band?
Yeah. Same
Okay.
band. So we are seeing the generic credit sequence, Bob, Louise, and Tina prepping burgers while this band has just been introduced and they're kind of going to be warming up. So they're just doing the sound check. Tina and Louise are prepping the burgers, and Louise is offering the plate to Bob. He's giving it to Linda. Here comes Gene. I like that the band never actually starts playing.
Yeah.
It ends with them just about to play.
I like that.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. I love the subtlety of this.
Highlights, lowlights.
I'm just a little bit bummed.
Especially when you think about that this was the finale, technically.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, who knows when they create these credits, but
Yeah.
I think my highlight is the 1, 2, 3, 4, and it cuts at 4. I like.
That's mine too. Like
Yeah.
that they don't get to play is kind of funny.
Yeah, and
not-
I actually love the simplicity of it. Like I like quiet moments with just a little detail, but I'm still bummed these aren't
Yeah.
more fun.
Yeah. And that's, I guess, kind of a low light is that they didn't do anything visually again. And
Yeah.
What could they have done from this episode?
I mean, Gene with his just walking through with his red face.
That would have been perfect.
Yeah,
Just still puffy.
exactly.
I agree. That would have been perfect.
Or like, you don't see the front of them, but like, I thought it was so cute when they were eating their first lobster, the kids. They had toilet paper as like little lobster bibs. So they
Yeah.
could have just been wearing that or something.
Yeah, I like it.
Thank you. You're supportive.
All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, H is at the end of Tina's
5.5.
And I'm going to give it a 5.
Okay.
So that's 5.25 H's at the end of Tina's This podcast is making me better at
At
remembering my
simple
fraction
math.
skills. Yes, my decimal skills. My yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next episode. Our final episode for season 1.
Season finale.
Final episode for season 1 for our podcast, and we're going to officially move into season 2 after this. And I think we're going to do just one episode per episode
Really get
of our
into
show.
it.
Yeah, they're really going to start getting better. Okay.
Oh, they are? The credits are our podcast.
No, our podcast is already phenomenal. The
Like
credits
this
the
is what I
credits-
can give to this.
The credits are going to start getting better.
Okay.
All right, hit us with that title and synopsis.
This title is Torpedo. Bob is thrilled when his childhood hero, baseball pitcher Torpedo, takes to his burgers. But soon, Bob finds out he's just using the burger grease to cheat. Gene partakes in the mascot race, where he excels, particularly when he realizes his dad totally condones cheating.
Perfect.
Thank
This
you.
episode was written by Dan Feibel and Rich Rinaldi and directed by Kyung-hee Lee. And again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly or if it's Kyung-hee Lee. I apologize if I'm getting it wrong. A fun fact about this one, Rich Rinaldi's name, I think in the opening credits, is accidentally spelled Rindali.
I just need to like meet this person who's making this typos and be like, I get you. I
Yeah.
understand you. Are you dyslexic? Because I am too. Let's be friends.
Yeah.
I'm very curious if you have this fun fact. Do you have anything about Ollie?
I have some fun facts. You just go ahead.
So this is the only episode where one of the twins of Ollie and Andy appears in an episode by themselves. Ollie gets it. He has one more episode. And so when Bob finds his conscience and will no longer help Torpedo cheat, they get kicked out of their seats and have to move to the back of the stands. And apparently Ollie is there. I haven't gone back to watch, but he's just chilling.
Do you think he's just by himself, not with his dad or anything? He's just there?
I don't know.
My guess is that they had like these extra side characters and stuff like that, and they just needed to fill like the
Seats.
stadium and stuff like that. So they used Ollie, and who knew if he was going to be a regular or not? He could just been a generic kid.
I just want like a spin-off episode of just like Ollie, and it's like a day in the slice of life Ollie episode, and I want to know how he just found himself there in those stands.
Yeah.
I would watch that.
I would watch an episode where they were separated and had to like find each other.
Oh, I love it.
Him and Andy.
I love it.
It'd be great. I would love a whole side Ollie and Andy, because I feel like early on they're very prominent because there's such great early on side characters, but then so many other good side heroes come on, they kind of get like pushed to this. They don't have enough storylines
They're
themselves.
so funny.
But they pop up every now and then. They're great.
Yeah.
Great. Love the Silverman sisters. So another fact I have about this episode is that this is the last episode to premiere on television that was animated in Flash, which is a cheaper like animation program, computer program, which is interesting because like we've been commenting on the animation how it looks kind of weird early on and then it gets a little better. Like a lot of shows do that. Like The Simpsons did that, and Family Guy. Like as they become more successful, they get better animation. So then starting in season 2, it's animated in a program called Toon Boom Harmony, which contains tools required to handle cutout, paperless frame-by-frame and traditional animation workflows from scanning to compositing and 2D, 3D integration. So I guess that just makes everything move more fluidly and probably limits how much stuff they have to kind of like upload. Oh, Biscuit has just made his move from the floor on one side of the room all the way to his bed on the other side of the room. I'm going to take a picture. Oh, he heard me. He buried his face in his bed, and then he heard me talking about him and pulled his face out.
Both of these topics are very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Biscuit's very animated.
He is. He looks like a cartoon dog.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else before we get into these final end credits?
Something just quick and fun.
Sure.
When they're in the dugout and Torpedo tousles Jean's hair in one shot, Linda doesn't have her apron on, and then she magically has it on.
Oh, whoops.
I love goofs like that.
I wonder if that's a Flash animation issue or something like that.
Because this is the last one on this?
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe it's the same
was.
guy who made the typos in the opening credits.
Okay, so right before these end credits ends, the roller coaster at Wonder Wharf has fallen down because Mr. Fish Odor was pulling out pieces of wood and screws to support the bleachers at his... I don't understand the locations here. Like,
I know. It's just this magical world.
Yeah, it's like a baseball stadium there right off next to Wonder Wharf, but I don't know that we've seen
never
a baseball
seen it.
stadium otherwise.
I feel like it's like in the water. Like
Yeah.
it should be in the water.
Yeah, because now the roller coaster is like right on the water.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tina has now collected some memorabilia from being the ball girl.
Let's see what it is.
Hey, Tina, what you got there?
The team signed a ball so I'd have something to remember them by, and I took this jockstrap.
Okay, sweetie, let's throw that in the wash.
No.
Come on, give it to me. Do you know how many venereal diseases those baseball players have?
I don't care.
Whose was it?
Smells like Angel.
Angel. But don't tell Phenom.
I love that Gene knows exactly who it smells like.
Me too.
So gross.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can purchase delicious burgers that look somewhat like him right here at the park.
So we've got the generic sequence again. I don't think anything changes here. We're going to get the same credits.
Yep.
But what's playing is earlier when Gene won his first race as a mascot, Mr. Fish Odor was just kind of like announcing that he was the winner.
Oh, a hummingbird. Hummingbird.
There's a hummingbird outside. Not inside. Don't panic, people. We're fine. Would
Sorry,
it be?
I
Would
find
we
those
be
really
panicked
good
if a
luck.
hummingbird was inside?
You know what? They can be vicious.
Inside, it would be terrifying. They're beautiful to look at outside, but
do
they're
you
so.
see it? Because it's good luck.
I can see it.
Okay.
I just had to like bend my neck, and I'm forever stuck in this position, but I can see it.
Yeah,
So-
they're very territorial.
Okay.
Anyway.
I'm glad the hummingbird was not inside. So Mr. Fish Odor is announcing, and Gene has the opportunity to announce his father's restaurant as at free advertising in the
This is
stadium.
the goal of this whole
so
thing.
we'll listen to what happens as they prep the burger.
And at my family's restaurant.
And what's the name of that restaurant?
It's God. I'm there every day. It's
Bob's Burgers!
God.
Gene!
Never mind. That's okay. We can get everything you expect from a burger at whatever the name of his restaurant
I
is.
just remembered.
It's too late.
Oh, say it!
And I love that Gene is tiptoeing or creeping his way in his burger suit like he does as this is all going on. I love that, one, Gene doesn't know it, and Mr. Fish Odor, who is the landlord for Bob's Burgers, doesn't know it as well. Or he doesn't want to say it because he's an asshole. But or he doesn't know it because he is also
oblivious.
Yeah, he just cares about himself.
Yeah.
He's self-involved. He doesn't care about Bob's. But those were the end credits for the very last episode of season 1. Highlights, lowlights for you.
So
it's an interesting choice to play during the end credits.
There was something like oddly soothing about it.
I think it's just great to hear Bob's Burgers being screamed at you at the end of the season.
I like the quiet moments in the restaurant after like a crazy episode. I don't know, it just worked for me. The overlay.
I like Bob's Burgers. Bob's Burgers. Bob's Burgers.
My highlight is just Gene. Like that. This is so something that would have happened to me as a kid. And he's like, "Oh, I've remembered." I just want to like hug him.
Yeah, poor
That's my
Gene.
highlight.
Poor Gene. Okay, any lowlights?
By the way, Bob was so mean to him. I was a little uncomfortable in the episode.
Bob was a little bit meaner in season 1 than he is throughout the rest of the show.
Yeah. I mean, my low light is just going to be that they didn't create anything for this. They literally took something from the episode and nothing's changed in the credits.
Yeah. I think maybe Torpedo, the baseball player, sneaking around, kind of trying to get some grease would be
cute.
funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. What else do you think from the episode could have been in the credits here?
The jock strap could have been on the kitchen counter, which would have been just
so gross. But
But I could see either Gene or her carrying that around.
Yeah, or maybe just like Tina's not prepping the burger; she's kind of obsessed with the jock strap, and Linda's trying to get it away from her.
Oh yeah,
the entire
that's cute.
Credits.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, our very last scoring for season 1, on a scale of 1 to 10 H's at the end of Tina's Us. How many?
This is
H's?
tough. I guess I'll say 6.
Yeah, I'll meet you at 6.
Okay.
Sure, I like that. 6. It leaves us with the Bob's Burgers screaming, just like we're going to end this screaming Bob's credits at you.
Yeah.
So it's just ingrained in your brain. You can't stop thinking about it. So thank you for listening, everyone. That was the first season of Bob's Burgers end credits. And
is this our end of our season?
yeah, except we're going to dive right into the next season next week. But in the meantime, we would love for you to follow us on social media. We are Bob's Credits all across the board. Instagram, Twitter, Gmail, as I said, Patreon. Please follow us. We are enjoying doing this podcast. We'd love to know that people are listening. Please leave us a review wherever you're listening. It helps us out a lot. Please tell your friends if you're enjoying the podcast. What else, Skylar? What have I left out here before we sign off?
I don't think anything.
Okay.
Just want to thank you for journeying through a whole season of Bob's Burgers with us, and just want to remind you to stay saucy.
There it is, the official sign off of the podcast, except for when we scream, Bob's credits! Bob's credits! Bob's credits! I'm just going to keep doing it.
Just slowly fade that out.
Bob's credits! Bob's credits! Bob's credits!